Everybody, I'm Ron Trevino coming to you from the KHOU 11 newsroom. We're about to hear the latest update from HPD. They have set up a news conference. The microphones are all ready for HPD to give us an update on a helicopter crash that you may have heard about that happened last night around 8 o'clock near downtown Houston, the east part of downtown Houston. This was a chopper carrying 4 people, including a child. It crashed into a radio tower. There were no survivors. We're hoping to find out more about this helicopter and what exactly was going on last night. We understand the chopper was leaving Ellington Airport when it hit this radio tower. Or as far as we know, it was an R-44 aircraft. We also understand that the FAA noted that the radio tower, the lights, had been reported as inoperable since October 16th. We have some officials now approaching the microphones, giving us the very latest. We don't have any identification on any of the victims, but again, there were 4 people on board this chopper when it hit that radio tower last night, again around 8 o'clock, and this was near the intersection of Engelkey Street and Ennis Street in the 2nd Ward. We're hoping to maybe find out the identities of the victims, 4 people, including a child. We don't know exactly who's going to be at this news conference. We know that HPD is conducting it. Perhaps there might be some other city officials involved. But again, this is regarding the chopper crash that happened in East Downtown last night. The chopper crashing into a radio tower. All 4 people were killed. We're going to wait just a few minutes and then listen in on this news conference, and hopefully it'll shed a little more light on what happened. Obviously, with something like this, you don't have just the city and the police department involved. You also have the NTSB, so federal investigators will be on site if they haven't been there already. So stand by as we give you this news conference from HPD any minute now. We see reporters still getting their microphones ready. This was a crash that, as you might imagine, frightened nearby neighbors. They didn't know what was going on. They felt like maybe it was some kind of refinery fire or explosion. Some residents telling us they thought they might have had to evacuate, but no buildings were damaged. It did cause the grass near that radio tower to catch on fire. About 100 yards or 200 yards worth of grass fire there. But again, 4 people on board that chopper killed. As we wait for HPD to give us the latest details on what they've uncovered overnight.
Start with the English part. Thought we were gonna up by a short or 2000.
Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Jonathan French, F-R-E-N-C-H, Lieutenant with our Vehicular Crimes Division here at the Houston Police Department. You're aware of the tragedy that we had happen last night, and overnight members of the Houston Police Department, multiple members from here in the South Central District, which is this area of responsibility, as well as citywide, which included our rapid mobilization police. Those are officers from citywide that can respond to major scenes. Our department, along with the Department of Public Safety, the DPS, helped maintain scene integrity and secure the perimeter of this scene. Right now, the lead agency is going to be our National Transportation Safety Board, coupled with the Federal Aviation Administration. They'll be addressing some of the questions you may have a little later this morning. But right now, I want to start off by first thanking our Houston Fire Department for their quick response. They were here almost immediately, as the mayor discussed last night. And as the mayor's mentioned before, we're working cooperatively, the Department of Public Safety, along with the NTSB and FAA and the Houston Police Department. So again, I want to thank HFD. I want to thank our partners at the Department of Public Safety, as well as our medical examiner's office. They've all been working tirelessly throughout the whole night on this. What I would say to our citizens, first off, thank you for those that have called in. Let a Houston police officer or a Department of Public Safety officer or any other law enforcement official you may find out here know about that. If not, you're welcome to call the Houston Police Department. Those officers will coordinate with the proper authorities for removal of any debris. Our Vehicular Crimes Division, right now, they're looking at approximately, and I'm going to say approximate because that could either expand or that could lessen during their investigation, but approximately 4 acres of coverage. And what our Vehicular Crimes Division reconstruction crew will do is conduct a 3-dimensional scan of that area. That'll include photographs, which will take approximately 4 to 5 hours. It may take longer. Once that's done, within 2 to 3 days, the Houston Police Department will provide that evidence to the NTSB and the FAA for them to conduct their investigation, because again, they're going to be the leads in this investigation. Do you have any questions at this time?
So there have been reports of debris.
Correct.
How many?
We're getting multiple reports of debris, and I would imagine there's probably going to be more that come in this morning. And again, what I said is, we have officers that are going to be out here all day. We've got them all around the perimeter from South Central Division, this area of responsibility, but also citywide. And we'll continue to have officers here throughout the day, probably into the evening time, basically as long as this investigation takes. And so what I would ask, if any citizens find debris, please notify an officer. You're probably going to have one that within view that you could flag down. If not, please call HPD. You can call 911 or call our main dispatch phone number, and we'll make those arrangements.
Do you know what this debris was?
I'm sorry, hold on.
Do you know what this debris was, though? Do you know if it was radio tower, if it was helicopter?
Right now, I don't want to speculate. There's multiple things that are being found in the debris right now. This is a large, expanded scene. And out of respect for our families, I don't want to get into too many details on that.
Can you stress the importance of people not touching the debris and how that can affect the investigation?
Absolutely. So any debris that you're found right now is considered evidence, and that's why we've been out here all night, making sure to secure that scene. Now, we knew ahead of time, at nighttime, you're not going to be able to see as many things, but now we're out in the daylight, more things are going to be found. So I would stress to folks, please don't touch anything. Evidence preservation as well as respect for these families that are going through this tragedy right now. We have multiple resources out here, so please find an officer, let them know about this, call our 911 or call our dispatch. I feel very confident in saying we've got a lot of officers on scene. I've spoken to several of those officers just walking this scene, and a lot of officers are talking to the residents that are notifying them of the findings, and they're making the right arrangements through the medical examiner and through other entities to pick up debris.
Have there been any reports of damages to homes or buildings over here?
At this time, I don't have details of damage to homes. I can tell you walking, I've seen a little bit of damage to some vehicles. I don't know about homes. That's obviously going to be part of that investigation, and we'll have more information probably at a later date. I do know thus far there's been no reports of any civilian injuries or any residential injuries here in this area, which we're thankful for.
Just to get clear, y'all are going to be.
Could you talk about have the families been notified, and can you give any update on approximate ages? I know we were told one child.
Yeah, at this time I can't. I don't want to speculate. I don't have all the details on that. I think the NTSB, along with DPS and probably the medical examiner's office, are going to be handling a lot of those notifications. They can speak more specifically to that later this morning when they have their news conference.
Do you know that the people have been ID'd?
I do not. I don't have that information right now. That's going to come from the medical examiner's office and not from HPD.
Obviously, this is a tragedy, but talk about, this could have been a lot worse. I mean, there's homes nearby. There was a festival going on last night. Can you touch on that a bit?
I think everyone here's thankful. All of our officers are thankful. The neighborhood is pretty thankful. This could have been much worse, right? I don't know if by the grace of God, where this happened, spared anyone from on the ground, being injured from this. This is a large scene, like I mentioned, at least, and I could be talking less or more, 4 acres. So the potential could have been much worse, and we're thankful for that. But we want to keep the families and our victims in mind right now. This is a horrible tragedy, but obviously it could have been much worse, and we're thankful that it's not.
How long did you said 4 to 5 hours they'll block off these roads?
Now the roads may be blocked off longer than that. The 4 to 5 hours I referred to is for our vehicular crimes division to conduct their scene investigation, which is photographs, and we have technology to conduct a 3-dimensional scan of that scene. All that will then be coupled into an investigative package that the NTSB will be given for their investigation. And what we're doing is basically we're partnering with NTSB to help them with their investigation.
Any other questions?
Spelling on your first name.
Yeah, Jonathan, Jonathan.
No H.
No H. Thanks.
What company owned the tower? Was it a radio station?
I don't have that information right now. No, sir, I don't. I've had information it was a radio tower. I've heard it was a cell phone tower. That's information we can get, but at this point I don't have that.
That'd be NTSB.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
Anybody else? Solo trip for you on speaking today?
Do you know if NTSB or FAA
I believe later.
All right, everybody.
this morning,
We've been listening to Jonathan French with HPD, saying that they're dealing with an area there where they're collecting evidence, a huge area involving 4 acres. Some of the roads nearby will still be closed for hours as they gather that evidence. They also say that there is a lot of debris in the area, and they're asking people who may come across this debris to not touch it because, of course, that is evidence in this tragedy. So they say if you see any kind of debris, to contact police. You can call 911. There are many officers, according to Officer French, in that area right now. You can flag down an officer and say, hey, I saw some debris here, come gather it, come look at it. As we heard from Officer French, the NTSB and the FAA will be the lead investigators in this tragedy, as is the case with all tragedies involving aircraft. It's a very large scene, as he said, 4 acres, and the officer also said it could have been much worse because others could have been killed. There could have been people walking or driving nearby that could have been killed or injured, and as far as we know, there were no other injuries in this other than the 4 people who were killed. And we still have no idea about their identities. That has not been given to us yet. According to Officer French, that would be coming from the medical examiner's office. But that's the latest from HPD. There will be more information coming on a bit later. The officer said that perhaps the NTSB might be having a news conference a little bit later today regarding this tragedy. So, of course, obviously, we'll be covering that as well. But that is the latest from the KHOU 11 newsroom on this tragedy from last night. The chopper that crashed into a radio tower in East downtown Houston. Of course, keep it here on khou.com, on all our platforms socially, and of course, tune in to KHOU 11 News at noon.